Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online character build video with me, Sherman. Today guys, I bring you the Arcane Blade. Now, before I get started, little disclaimer, this is a roleplay casual build, character build for that aspect of the game. It is not a meta build, so don't try to play it as one. Okay, moving on. So the theme and idea for this is I've always been a big fan of classic kung fu movies and ninja movies and things like that, and I always wondered, can I make an assassin character that's kind of like a ninja, uses magic and melee in one, and really make it work in a more positive, good way and everything. So after lots of, I wouldn't say deliberation, but a lot of testing, a lot of theory crafting, this is one of the ideas I came up with that really just kind of sunk in, and it really felt it was in the right place in how it works. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I know I've been doing a lot of Dark Elf characters lately, and I'm not going to be doing a lot more. I'm going to be backing off from Dark Elves and using other races, so. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. This is a Dark Elf Nightblade. It is, unfortunately, one of the better choices for this. Now, the other choice that's really good is High Elf, Breton. Any of the magic race-based races is going to be really good for this. But Dark Elf, because it has that dual hybridization, Khajiits also work really good. But because they have that dual hybridization built into the race, they work really good for this. So going over the stats, you can see we put 10 into Magicka, 54 into Stamina. This is to basically build it out more as a damage dealer. Now that is the primary role of this, is a damage dealer. It can be a tank and a healer if it needs to be, with some adjustments. If you're going to make it a tank, you're going to take everything and put it into health. If you're going to make it a healer, you're going to take everything and put it in Magicka, because that's going to be the best option for this to play those roles. You can still use dual wield on the front bar with the resto staff on the back bar. Like I said, the Dark Elf is really good at this. So, moving on, you can see we have 25k Magicka, 20k health, 30k stamina, and we have 1,039 mag recovery with a 777 stamina recovery. Moving on down to the weapon damage, we have 2742 weapon damage with a 59% weapon critical, 2471 spell damage with a 37% spell critical, and we do have 14k spell resist with a 13k physical resist. Moving on down here, we do have the Thief Mundus Stone to increase our critical rating, and then we are using Tri-Stat Food because that is going to be the best option for this type of character. Alright. Moving on to the gear. So if you can see, I have tri-pots in here. I also have spell power pots and weapon power pots. This just depends on what role I'm playing, on which potion I'm using. I always, with this character, will use Tri-Stat Food. There is no reason to use any others. I also have some extra weapons in here. As you can see, I do have Witch Mother's Potent Brew, though, for when I play a healer, because that way it'll give me higher recovery rates. And I do have Dubious Cameron thrown in here just in case I want to use it. But I would suggest sticking to Tri-Stat Food. It works the best. Alright, let's go over these sets. So starting with the monster set, and this is kind of an unusual one, but it works out really well with this. We are using Bollarg's Mask. Now, this is one that drops in, I think it's one of the Wolf Hunter DLCs. As you can see, it gives one piece, adds weapon damage and spell damage, and that's why it works so good with this build. And then when you use an ultimate ability, you gain weapon and spell damage for 10 seconds, equal to twice the amount of total ultimate consumed. So if you spend 75 ultimate, you're going to get 125 weapon and spell damage. If you spend 250, you're going to get 500 weapon and spell damage. It's pretty crazy. And then the next set we're using is Hunting's Rage. Hunting's Rage just works really good all around because it gives you that weapon critical on the 2-piece. The 3-piece gives you stamina. 4-piece gives you weapon critical, and then the 5-piece is just lots of weapon damage. Moving on to the next set, this is where things are going to get a little interesting. We are using War Maidens. War Maidens gives you spell critical, max magicka, spell damage, and 400 spell damage to your magic damage abilities. If you didn't know, Nightblades either do physical, disease, or magic damage. That's it. They don't do fire damage, they don't do poison, or they don't do frost damage, they don't do lightning damage. They do magic damage. So this set works really good with them. Alright. So let's go over the traits, enchants on the gear. Starting with the helm, chest, and legs, we are running Invigorating on the helm and the legs. This is going to give us more recovery. If you didn't know, Nightblades have a passive that gives them 15% stamina, health, and magic recovery. So this really adds to that, even though it's only 22. You can put in Invigorating here if you want. I went Infused just to maximize my stat capabilities using the tri-stats. As you can see, I do have tri-stats on all the big pieces. This is going to be normal for a lot of the builds I share. And then on the smaller pieces, I do have Divine's Stamina and Divine's Magicka. On the belt and shoulders is Magicka, the gloves and the boots is Stamina. So this way I can hybridize the character better. Now moving on to the jewelry, we are running 2 Trirune jewelry pieces with spell damage on it. If you're wondering why I didn't put weapon damage on any of these, is because of the fact that you get so much from this, and the fact that we're using Nirnhond. Most of the stuff we're going to be doing is magic based anyways. And then moving on to the necklace, we have an infused with magic recovery. Magic recovery is just going to be good for you overall to give you that better recovery rate. So this way you have greater control on your max magicka and like keeping it filled. Now moving on to the weapons, we are using dual wield on the front bar. We have a War Maiden's Dagger sharpened with absorbed stamina, and then we have a War Maiden's Nirnhond Dagger with an absorbed magicka. Now if you want to get this in Nirnhond, you have to transmute it. So another thing that you can do is you can craft the Hunning's Rage into the weapons and the bow, and then get the jewelry in 2 pieces of the I would do the gloves and the boots of the War Maidens. That would be the easiest thing to do. Or but then you're gonna have to get rid of your one heavy piece, and that really kind of screws things up. And then moving on to the bow, we are using an infused bow with a weapon damage enchant. This is going to give us that higher weapon and spell damage mixture on our character. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go over the other weapons and enchants that we use just for different purposes. So when we tank with this, we are going to use an Ice Staff with a 2-handed greatsword. Now you can use dual wield on the back bar if you want to while tanking, that's fine. It works out really well. But for this case, because we're going to be tanking, we want to keep that Crusher up. Back bar, we're going to use War Maidens, 2-handed, probably with Carve. So that way it ticks damage, and it'll keep Crusher applied better. The War Maiden's Ice Staff is going to be decisive with a Absorb Magic enchant, because you're going to be doing a lot of heavy attacks with this Ice Staff to taunt. So every time you heavy attack, if you can get that Absorb Stamina proc at the same time, you're going to get a lot of resources back. Alright, moving on for healing. When I play healer, I run dual swords. As you can see, I have one infused with a magic damage, absorb magicka, and then one with a charged shock damage. This is so I can help set enemies off balance, because that's what it's going to do. It's going to increase the chance to apply a status effect. And then we are going to use a War Maiden's powered Resto Staff on the back bar with a weakening enchant. And that's going to give us that capability to weaken the enemies, debuff them to help the group so that they're not taking as much damage. Alright, now that you guys have seen that, let's go ahead and move on to skills. And going over the skills really quick for the class, make sure you unlock all the class abilities and class passives. Now you don't have to if you don't want to. I suggest it because you never know in what situation you might want to use what ability. So when it comes to weapons, this is primarily a dual wield and bow build, so make sure you unlock those passives and active abilities. For Destruction Staff, Resto Staff, and two-handed, you can unlock those if you choose. You want to tank and heal that way. That's up to you. If you want to, you can even go sword and shield with a destruction staff on the back bar, like an ice staff. And then you can also run a restoration staff with a lightning staff if you want to, or a bow if you want to. It really depends on how you want to play the healer side. Armor. Light armor, top 3 passives. Very important to get these with this particular build. Medium armor, all the passives, also very important. And then heavy armor, you're just going to need the top 3. World skills, you can be a vampire with this. It works out pretty well, but in this case, we're just going to use this. And I need to check something because this is in the wrong place. Thank you. But just make sure for the soul magic, get these 2. These are very important. The soul summons and soul lock. I'm not going to go through them. Fighter's Guild, I do have all the passives and active abilities unlocked, as you can see. And then same thing here with the Mage's Guild and the Psijic Order. And I did it again with the Psijic Order. Look at this, guys. It's because I unlock the skills first before I do the abilities, and I always see that, just the unseen, so I think it's all unlocked. Alright, moving on to Undaunted. Undaunted passives and abilities, really, really good. The passives are really good. The abilities are really cool because they're all synergies. Alliance War, same thing, unlock the ones here. This is mainly for PvE, so this is why I only have these specific skills unlocked. And this passive really helps because anytime you have any of these slotted, you get 10% more magic recovery. Racials, Dark Elf, I'm not going to go over them. I've already explained these a lot. Mainly, you get extra max magic of stamina, and you get extra weapon and spell damage. That's the primary focus of it. Alchemy, medicinal use, and provisioning, gourmand, and connoisseur. Now, this increases your food time by 20 minutes. This reduces or increases the effectiveness of your potions by 30%. So they last 30% longer. Alright. Now going over the skills we have on the bar. Now, like I said, this is primarily a Magicka-based build. It can be played with some more stamina abilities if you want to, but the whole purpose of it is to utilize both Magicka and stamina, and take advantage of both sides. So starting with our main first ability, we do have Lotus Fan. Lotus Fan's actually a really powerful ability, because this one is basically ambush, or teleport strike. Your character will jump to an enemy, deal magic damage, and apply minor vulnerability for 8 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 8%. After teleporting, you unleash a fan of knives, dealing an additional 11,044 magic damage over 8 seconds to the target and nearby enemies. So it's an AoE. And it's a 6-meter radius wherever you land. So it's really nice. Next ability we have is Bloodthirst. This is just to do damage. It does damage over time, and then each hit deals 300% more damage and heals you for 67% of the damage caused. So you're going to heal while you're doing this too. Our next ability is Concealed Weapon. This one slashes an enemy, dealing X amount of magic damage, attacking with Concealed Weapon while sneaking invisible, stuns an enemy for 3 seconds, and sets him off balance for 5. While slotted, your movement speed while sneaking or invisible is increased by 25%. That's why I said it's more of that crafty thief type thing. And one of the other things that you can do is unlock the Dark Brotherhood and Thieves Guild with the Ledgerman with this. So this makes a really good character build for that, for the Dark Brotherhood Thieves Guild stuff. Alright, next skill we have is called Swallow Soul. Now this one, you steal an enemy's life force, dealing X amount of magic damage and healing for 39% of the damage inflicted over 2 seconds for 10 seconds. So this thing just deals damage, but it heals you over 10 seconds. Then we have our Execute, which is Impale. This one can be done at ranged, which is really nice. A throwing magic blade with lethal precision to strike an enemy, dealing X amount of magic damage, and deals 300% more damage to enemies under 25% health. I've hit this up to probably 39, almost 40k DPS. It's pretty crazy. The next ability we have is called Soul Harvest. This one does magic damage. This is going to be the primary ultimate you're going to use most of the time, and this is what's going to help you stack weapon and spell damage even more with your monster set. And also, so it does magic damage and increases your damage against them by 20% for 6 seconds. Then also afflicts the enemy with major defile, reducing their healing received and health recovery by 30%. And then while slotted, anytime you kill an enemy, you gain 10 ultimate. So you're just gaining a lot of ultimate with this, especially in trash fights. Moving on to the back bar. Starting with our first ability, we have Crippling Grasp. Now this is going to take the place of Trap Beast, but you can still use Trap Beast if you want. And in fact, you can move Crippling Grasp over to here and move Endless Hail here, put this here, and then put Trap Beast here. But the reason I have this set up this way is to show you how you can take advantage of a lot of different abilities with the class. So this does damage up front, damage over time, and then immobilizes the enemy for 2 seconds, and then reduces their movement speed by 30% for 4. So it's basically like a trap. Next ability we have is Venom Arrow. This is damage up front, damage over time, and then it also sets it, if the enemy is casting an ability, it'll interrupt them, set them off balance, and stun them for 3 seconds. Then we have Endless Hail. This is here for damage over time. Next one we have is Siphoning Strikes. Now this is the Magicka one, so this gives you health back anytime you do a light or heavy attack. It also gives you Magicka back whenever you do a light attack, and it gives you greater Magicka and health on heavy attacks. And then you restore 4,270 additional Magicka when the effect ends based on the length of time Siphoning Attacks was active. So you can actually get more Magicka out of it if you need to. Last ability before ultimate is the Reaper's Mark. This is basically to help your group with Major Breach and Major Fracture. And then when an enemy is marked enemy dies, you heal for 14,911, and you gain Major Berserk, increasing your damage done by 25% for 5 seconds. This portion of the ability scales off your max health, and you can only have Reaper's Mark active at one time. So it's kind of a nice thing to have to be able to do that, and like it says, the heal is based off your max health, so that's why I use it. Siphoning Attacks does do damage or heal you when you use it and stuff, and it's pretty nice to have this, so I'm just saying that. Alright, now for our last and final ultimate, if you want to use it. Now this thing costs you 100 ultimate, so this is going to give you 200 weapon and spell damage. But as you can see, burn enemies from the inside with Soulfire, dealing 50,000 magic damage over 3.5 seconds. Enemies affected with this ability are revealed for 2 seconds and may not enter stealth or invisibility. This is just an insane damage ability, and it is a channeled attack, so it takes 3.9 seconds to utilize the whole full function. Alright, so that is this build and its skills. We are going to go over CP real quick, starting with the Red Tree. 56 into Ironclad. This is to reduce your direct damage taken against enemies, or against direct damage attacks, by 20%. We have 18 into Medium Armor Focus. This just, when 5 or more pieces of medium armor are equipped, increases your physical resistance. Spell Shield increases your spell resistance. We have 20 points in here, and this is how you can build up your spell and physical resist, so you can do more solo play or even play in groups and still take advantage of the higher resistance values. Moving on over here, we have 31 into Thick Skin, reducing your damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. We have 43 into Hardy, reducing your damage taken from physical poison disease damage by 10%. 43 into Elemental Defender, reducing your damage taken from Flame, Frost, Shock, and Magic damage by 10%. And then over here we have 40 into Bastion, just in case you want to use a shield for solo play. You can do that, and it increases the effectiveness of that damage shield by 16%. Then we have 19 into Quick Recovery. And then moving on over here, we have 40 into Warlord. This is going to reduce the break free costs by 16%. We have 16 into Sprinter, reducing your sorry guys, reducing your sprint cost by 10%. We have 16 into Bashing Focus, reducing your bash cost by 10%. And then moving on over here, we have 43 into Mooncalf, increasing your stamina recovery by 10%. 43 into Arcanus, increasing your mag recovery by 10%. And 43 into Tenacity, increasing your magic and stamina return of your fully charged heavy attacks by 10%. And that's how we're going to get a lot of stamina back, is when we do our heavy attacks. So Moving on, we have 29 into tumbling, reducing the roll dodge costs by 12%. We are in 5 pieces of medium armor, so we actually get more roll dodge cost reduction. That's why I didn't put as much in here. But I did put 40 into Shadow Ward, reducing our block cost by 16%. Now this is a hybrid character, so we are using a hybrid damage setup. Moving on over here, we have 43 into Blessed, increasing your healing done by 10%. This is just in case you're using some type of healing ability or Resto Staff kind of thing. We have 23 into Elfborn, increasing your critical damage and critical healing with magic abilities by 10%. 43 into Elemental Expert, increasing your Flame Frost Shock and magic damage by 10%. We do have 3 into Spell Erosion to boost our spell pin by a little bit. And then moving on over here, we have 25 into Physical Weapon Expert to increase your light and heavy attack damage done with all stamina weapons by 15%. You can split this so there's 16 and 16 in each one, but this is primarily mostly focused on using stamina with magic abilities. So, your choice. 40 in the Master at Arms, increasing the direct damage or your damage done with direct damage attacks by 16%. And then moving on over here, we have 43 in the Mighty, increasing your physical poison disease damage done by 10%. 4 in the Piercing, giving you 413 extra physical penetration. 23 in the Precise Strikes, increasing your critical damage done with your critical damage and critical healing done with stamina abilities by 10%. And 23 in the Thaumaturge, increasing your damage done with damage over time by 10%. And that is it for the CP, guys. Now, one thing I want to mention about this build real quick before I do the dummy parse. Remember, everything in this build is suggestion only. That means CP, gear sets, traits, Mundus Stone, you name it. It is all CP suggestion. Or it's CP. It is all just suggestion. It's just showing you what you can do with a character build and how you can build them out. That's it. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at this thing on a dummy parse. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually use what's called a stamina power pot. This is going to boost our weapon damage mostly. The reason why is because you're gonna see how much magic damage this thing can get here in a second. So let's go ahead and drink our potion. We're going to do like we do with the normal rotation, start with our trap. I'm going to try and break 17 or 18k. I don't know if I can. This is because I'm on this dummy and I can't. So I pulled 15k. That's good. Usually I can get about 17, 20k on this guy in between there. But let's go ahead and take a look at this so you guys can see. We had 3,829 weapon damage. I didn't even use an ultimate to get more weapon and spell damage. And 3,000 pretty much spell damage. And my crit here is 75% because I am a Nightblade. I get extra weapon crit. So that's why my weapon crit's so high. And then my spell crit is a little low. It's 37.9%, but I'm fine with that. We do have 6,000 spell penetration with 7,000 physical penetration. So this is that Reaper's Mark is basically to help boost us in our damage capabilities. Now, I am going to do a quick parse on the big guy over here. Now remember, this thing gives you everything that you would have in an organized group. Not in a super, and I don't want to use this word because this is very rude, but this is not just for meta testing. This is for anyone to test in an organized group setting. So, alright, so potion, again, we're going to do this. I really screwed the pooch on this one so far. Really? Gosh. I'm just doing really bad. Now we're going to do our ultimate. And I can usually get up to about 30k with this, depending on how effective I can keep the rotation. But it doesn't look like I'm going to do it this time, guys. Sorry. I'm also having a really bad morning with my trimmers and stuff, so... But you can see, like, this thing it just basically keeps itself going constantly. And the ultimate that you gain in weapon damage is based on the amount it takes to activate. So in this case, this one's 70, so I'm only going to get 120 or 140 ultimate added to my weapon and spell damage. But if I use the other one, it's 100, so I get 200 extra ultimates, extra weapon and spell damage. The more I have, the better off I am, but I'm just going to show you guys this. So this is what my weapon damage looks like when I have the ultimates going off. And that's 5,937 weapon damage with 4,599 spell damage. And the reason I chose the abilities I did was just to show you the effectiveness of this build with mostly magic-based setup. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up for more solo play. What I'm going to get rid of is just get rid of the concealed weapon, and I'm going to grab Undaunted Spike Bone Shield, and I'm just going to jump into a dungeon. Of course, my favorite dungeon right now for testing does happen to be Depths of Malatar. It's the newest dungeon added to the game with Wrathstone DLC, and it's supposed to be some of the most challenging group content that's been added to the game besides the new trial. I would go in the new trial and solo that, but I don't think it matters where I solo, just as long as I can show how this build can play and how effective it can really be. Now, like I said, I can usually get up to about 30k DPS with this, but I'm a little vibraty today. A little bit more than normal. You can't see it with my mouse because I'm rest my wrist on my desk where my mouse is, and it kind of stabilizes my hand a little bit. Not really great, but enough. And there we go. That's dead. Oh, I made a mistake. I hit my shield button too late. Ah, okay. Well, there. I'm gonna kill these guys. I want to get to the boss. I apologize. I hit my shield too late. I meant to swap bars right away and use it, but you know, like I said, today's just not a good day for me, guys. But it doesn't matter. I'm gonna always do like my best. That's just kind of the point. Here, chew on that for a little bit. Just kill you with the bow. Now, the other thing I am going to do real quick, because I know I'm going to take a little bit more damage in here, is I'm going to also grab a little bit better heal for myself. I think I'm debating between Refreshing Path and Sap Essence. We'll take Sap Essence. We're gonna put it right here instead of that, and we're gonna try that out. We're just gonna see if that helps. So, where are you hiding, ugly? I know you're in here. I know you're walking around. There he is. So. Ooh, wrong button, wrong button, wrong button. There we go. No, we're out of stamina. I knew I was doing something wrong. Oh. Sorry, guys. Again, my bad. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has their good days and everyone has their bad days. This just happens to be one of those days. Bad trimmers. God. So I would finish this and show you guys that I can solo that thing. I usually can. It's just, you know. But that's pretty much it for the Arcane Blade. The Arcane Blade is a lot of fun if you can get it down and you can get a greater understanding of it. Usually what I like to do, honestly, is I like to use Magicka here. And I'm just gonna show you guys the way I like to set it up. Is I like to do this kind of a setup, but Impale's nice, it really is, but I like to use a couple more weapon damage abilities. So usually what I'll do is I'll do this here, or I'll put the Quick Cloak here, depending, and then sometimes I'll even put Flying Blade right here. This way I can take advantage of all the other different tools. And this also, I can use a power pot, Magicka power pot, because I'm going to get weapon damage from this for that. And I really don't need the stamina critical because I already get a lot of stamina critical, as I've shown. I already get a lot of that from being a Nightblade. So I don't really need the power pot to give me that. And the weapon damage is higher than my spell damage. So this way I can build up my spell damage and take advantage of that stuff. And I didn't even use an ultimate but one time in here. So it's one of the things you have to understand is you have to use ultimates with this monster set in order for it to take real advantage of the character and its full potential. But that's pretty much it for the build. I hope you guys like it. It's one of my preferred builds. I'm actually thinking about turning my own personal Nightblade into this because I love playing this character this way. It's so much fun. It is just that cool. So, but you guys know what's coming next. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.